who we're actually graduating this month. He will be going into the trades. We also have a micro school here in Chicago, so we believe organization here with a lot of families in the city of Chicago that we gather. We have always called it the education pandemic. And so now, since should have bowed face, right, the church should have said, never mind. And so 60 plus years later, a lot of people, not myself, maybe not you, are wondering why we're seeing more in and out of government education system. That's because the covering has been removed. So we are literally our children are in indoctrinated cesspools, what my husband and I call the temples of Moloch, and they have no covering and no walls. And so this is why we're seeing the influx of wicked, evil policies literally destroying the souls and the innocence of our children and usurping parental rights in this country.
Can you give me some examples of the evil that you...
Okay. And this agenda is global, right? And so again, when you go back through through the history of this country, when it comes to education, you go all the way back to 1635. And when you begin to study what they call the fathers of education, I call them the purveyors of education, right? Because these men had from the foundation of their core in terms of administering their philosophical ideas of what this country should look like, always have been an anti-Christ agenda, anti-parenting agenda, anti-American agenda. And so through the years, the enemy has been very patient into working these things out. He's been very strategic, very surgical in working these things out. And so I'm going to go back, but fast forward, 2020 is and was one of the full manifestations of that which has been working for a long time. And so when people say, you know, the public school system is broken, I said, no, 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 no. It's working just as intended. It's a well-oiled machine. It's fine, right? And so globally, what we're seeing infiltrate America is the sexualization of children, the perversion of children. The whole LGBTQ plus agenda is literally destroying America's education system. And so here in Illinois, we have comprehensive sexual education. It is the law of the land in terms of it is governing the education system in the state. And so from that perspective, there's a lot of policies that are being rolled out behind that to continually threaten, undermine, and attack parental rights, and more importantly, destroy our children. And so we say parental rights as the umbrella because if they can remove the parent, then they have the child. So this is a bastardized government that wants to control and manipulate and destroy our youth. And so then you have the LGBT history that has passed in the state. So the history passed before the comprehensive sex ed passed. And so with me now being an 18-year homeschooler, God just naturally made me follow education policies. I just became privy by the Holy Spirit to start looking at education policies because what God began to impress upon my heart, first and foremost, I have to protect my God-given right to protect my children. So when I pulled my daughter out of public school in 4th grade, we're originally from Louisiana. So we've been in Chicago almost 13 years. The Lord sent us here for ministry. So when I pulled my daughter out of public school in the 4th grade, the things that we're seeing happening now, almost 20 years later, none of us could have fathomed these things. No. Even following biblical prophecy, because the way God teaches us prophecies, you never know how they're going to manifest. Because he say, oh, his ways are not our ways, his thoughts are not our thoughts. So we're reading these things, we're worshiping God, but yet we don't know how these things will manifest. And so we all been privy to the Antichrist and the beast and the one world government system, but yet we don't know the strategic way of his manifestations. And so that's what's happening. So from that perspective, you have the LGBT history that Pritzker signed it into law in 2019. And then so me and people that was in my life at that time and still are, we did the best we could to try to bring awareness because I've been following this global agenda with comprehensive sex ed since the early 2008. Because it really entered America through Obama's administration, right? The floodgates of hell just opened up on this country, right? And so through his administration, you had what everybody know was Common Core, which is a derivative from World Core, which is from the UN, which is from the World Health Organization, which is from the World Economic Forum, the United Nations, the International Planned Parenthood. So all these organizations are tied together to literally destroy America. And so I began to follow it. It was hit in California, it was hit in New York. And you know, New York, California, Illinois, they're tentacles, right? They're just the beasts of the country, right? And so we were still in Louisiana, so I'm following and I'm sharing with people, you know, get your kids out of public school. They're doing a lot of perverted things through Common Core. We get to Chicago, we get to Illinois in 2011, and me and my kids, they were little then, we're hitting the pavement. I'm putting flyers everywhere, and I'm still warning people like, y'all better get your kids out of public schools. And so that started what has been a phenomenal journey for my husband and I and my family here in Chicago. And so when I started seeing the influx of the conversations happening around the LGBTQ plus community because of Obama, I began to say, listen, we in America seemingly have become nullified to those acronyms. And what I mean by that, LGBTQ plus denotes their sexual deviance. It denotes their sexual behavior. So just for the fact that they want to mandate that LGBT history be taught in government schools, nothing is gonna follow but their actions.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And so I'm like, okay, Illinois, what are y'all gonna do? What are y'all doing? Y'all better get your kids out, y'all better stop this mess, right? 2021, Pritzker signed comprehensive sex ed into law. And so now the Democratic legislators, all of them are Democrat, and a lot of people don't like that. And I said, listen, I'm sorry, the Republicans are not supporting these type of wicked policies. They're not proposing it, they're not pushing it. And even from the federal level, this is not the Republicans. This is just not it. And then some people say, well, they believe, listen, we're not talking about people's personal belief. Because your personal belief can be whatever you would like it to be, as long as you're not putting your personal belief in policy and forcing my family.
Yes.
Okay? So I said we have to differentiate that, okay? And so once that hit, and now we have this onslaught of policies being proposed in this state where they're continually want to make parents criminals, child abusers, if we don't allow gender change, if we don't allow the mutilation of our children's healthy organs and genitals, if we don't allow pronouns to be used. And then there's a bill that if families here are on public aid, their 12-year-olds and older can now have full autonomy over their medical decisions. So these are the kind of policies that they continue to roll out. And what I'm telling parents is that the babies that are in the public school system are the targeted victims for these things, because in the homeschool community, most of us, we don't even see network doctors, right? You know, me and my family, we see naturopathic. So you know, homeschool is just kind of removes the veil off your eyes a lot, right? And so we learn to get off the grid, you know. So I'm not dealing with network doctors. I'm not dealing with Medicaid and Medicaid doctors, you know. We're holistic, right? We're on the herb thing. So when COVID hit, we were already on the vitamin D thing, right? So none of that, we were already like, this is how we live. We're non-vaccinated, so we don't do the vaccines. My children are non-vaccinated, so, and this has been over 15, 17 years, okay? So as a homeschooler, again, we're natural agents to come off the grid. And so I warn parents that have their kids in public school, your children are the crops that they're picking from.
Because they can't change our minds.
They can't.
Do theirs.
Because you're outsourcing them. And so they have, unfortunately, too much autonomy, too much control over your children. And then also here in Illinois, with this insatiable appetite to destroy children, they have the audacity to be dumbing them down.
Yeah, because all your schools are failures.
This is an epidemic here in the state of Illinois.
So if you're now bringing in tens of thousands of students are coming into your public schools, and now you're going to, and you probably, I'd love to hear your numbers of how many students, and then you have, and I know that we're focusing in on, you have a large majority of Venezuelans, but in the United States Border Patrol arrest data, we have over 180 nations out of 195 nations that have been arrested. So what's coming to Chicago is multiple other languages with multiple other dialects. So you're gonna need 20, 30, 40 English as second language teachers. Where are you gonna find them? And they're very expensive.
Yes, so from the academic side, so that was the perversion side.
Right.
So from the academic side, in Chicago, well, for the state of Illinois, you have whereas only approximately 35 or I think 37% of children are able to read throughout the state. So the whole state is devastating.
That's unbelievable.
Yes. And then in math, the whole state, only 27% are proficient. And then then when you come to Chicago, because my sisters and brothers just gave a awesome trajectory of where we at in terms of the population in this state. And so the majority of blacks are in the city of Chicago, okay? And so in CPS public schools, you have 35% black students. And that has been a decline, which is to be applauded. And so I've been watching the enrollment status for the last 5 years, and thank God, blacks are coming out of Chicago Public School. There's been a continual decline in terms of our population in the school. So as of 2023-2024, the school year is 35%. The whole population of CPS is 323,000 and some change. 35% of that, we're looking at 113,000 and some change in terms of black students that are in CPS public school. Of that 113,000, approximately 83% are not reading on grade level.
That's astounding.
It's
So you're
it
at
makes me,
17% that's proficient.
that's only self-proficient. And 92% of that same 113,000, 92% are not proficient in math. And then we have a teachers union here, CTU, that continually negotiates and advocates for foreign nationals children. Now the percentage of them,
Why?
I mean, is what we all know. It is the replacement. It is just, it's a genocide. It's really a genocide on black people. It is to completely annihilate us, completely wipe us out. And it's
Why do
another
they
form
want
of
to wipe
slavery.
you? I'd like to just stop. Why do you think they want to wipe you out? Because I've heard, before you start, I've heard genocide from wealthy white people here, businessmen, gang members, people that have no education, like baseline education, and very articulate people within now the Republican Party here using the same terminology. That's rare. Like, so it's rare to hear social economic divisions in a group of people, but the terms you are all using are the same. So why do you think it's a genocide?
I mean, it's been a genocide since the foundation of this country. So the whole pandemic and the agenda to genocide the African, the black man, you know, for the sake of time, it's really spiritual, okay? It's really a spiritual genocide. And so it's not anything new, as the word of God says, ain't nothing new under the sun.
Right.
You know, the enemy would desire to literally exterminate us, okay? So you have Margaret Sanger, you have the Planned Parenthood, you have so many agendas that have been working to destroy us. And if this oppressive demon, this demon of genocide, of extermination would have had its way, we'd have been destroyed in slavery, or would have remained perpetual slaves. See, perpetual slavery is a form of destruction as well. So because they cannot, or they did not get, or that demon did not get its way in causing us to be perpetual slaves, these are just more attacks that have been set out for our own demise and destruction. So it is a form of genocide. And the more they can destroy us, see, for them, the less is better. So they don't want to, even though we use genocide and exterminate, they want to keep a few of us around. But the more they can kill, literally kill, the more they can destroy is better. That's why they're not stopping crime. They're not doing anything to stop anything. They want us to self-kill ourselves. It's homicide. They want us to kill ourselves. This thing is so spiritual. They want us to destroy ourselves. So all these things, the whole social economics, I call it engineer enslavement. That's what these social policies are. It's just engineered enslavement. It's for us to self-destroy, self-destruct.
But when you lay it out on those terms, and everyone else I've spoken to, you see education is, nobody can read and write. Let's just break it down to the very, very basic. The average, so if these people, the black community that is coming out of the schools cannot read or write, they are in crime-infested areas. We were down there. There is no industry. Like, there's not even, like you drive through here, there's some malls, like strip malls, so there's people have to work in those strip malls, and there's nothing. I didn't see a grocery store. There's nothing. It's squalor. And then you have this epidemic of killings and murders, and then you have the devastating poverty. Like, we could feel it, right? And then you bring in your replacements. So I always like to say, we've lost the ability to critically think in America. So when someone lays out why something is happening and you don't agree, then you have to be able to articulate why you don't agree. I have no articulation to combat what you're saying. Just like when I tell people, this invasion into America by illegal aliens by the tens of millions is strategic and intentional. And this is why it is. And then I say, you don't agree with me in my conclusion, then tell me what it is. And there's silence. And I'm sure you hear it a lot when you lay out your argument for education. When you talk about replacement, and Devin said this, Black Americans about 40 million. There's over 45 million illegal aliens in America. You have lost all your power. And now that there is a wave, and it is a wave of Black Americans shunning the Democratic Party, and they say all Republicans need is 10% of the Democrat Black vote to leave, and the Democrat Party will fall apart. It's awakening in the Black community. That, I believe, is accelerating the need for foreign nationals. And then the immediate pushback is, well, foreign nationals can't vote. Well, that's a lie, because the NGOs, non-governmental organizations, are signing them up to vote. Illegal aliens, which they all are, you can call them whatever you want, but the legal term in law and in the Immigration Nationality Act are they illegal aliens. And you look at the statutes, illegal aliens cannot, even legal, people don't know this, legal immigrants cannot receive any government assistance. If you are a legal immigrant, as a law enforcement officer, I don't even have to prove that you're taking it. I can prove that you are going to need it, and I can deport you. So you now are, I'm telling you, you have 45 million illegal aliens. In Chicago, they're tying $9,000 rent assistance. I live in a very nice home in Kansas. My mortgage, taxes, insurance, and my food for the month don't come to $9,000. You have people that are living on the streets in Chicago, and you're giving people from Yemen, Ecuador, Germany, Australia, Sudan, $9,000 a month. Let's go back to education, because I want to ask you this question. Do you know the percentage or the number of foreign national students that have come illegally that are now in your school system?
It's 48%.
Excuse me?
48% in CPS.
How many students? You said 300?
It's 323,000, a little over, and 48%.
Okay, hold on. I feel like I'm educated on this. Like, I feel like I know, but the more that I talk to people, it's a reassurance of how ignorant I am, right, and how much I need to learn. I mean, you're a very intelligent woman. I'm sure you feel the same way. If you're intellectually honest, things stun you, and I'm rarely stunned, to be honest with you. I thought you were going to say about maybe 70%. I really did. You're telling me almost 50% of the student population are illegal aliens.
Yeah. They're
children of illegal aliens.
Yeah, and Hispanics, and it's just they lump them all together.
Yes.
And even more stunning than that, their academic level is higher than ours.
How's that possible?
Now that's a very good question. I think they're definitely pumping out more resources. I think they're getting more one-on-one time. And I mean, just like a few weeks ago, late in April, the CTU went to Springfield lobbying for $2,000 more to give to them. You know, the asylum seekers students to give $2,000 per kid, and so
for what?
Just to give it to them. you know, so-
cash
Yeah.
stipends or?
Stipend, they're just negotiating in their contracts that these asylum seeker students need $2,000, and so they're going
For school
for
supplies,
schools and
etc.
education, and so this is gonna raise our taxes.
Okay, do you think the black students need $2,000?
Oh, we need a lot, yeah. There's no plan, that I'm aware of to really help black students. There's no lobbying in Springfield to help black students. When we have decimal, numbers like that, and again, when we have 83 and 92% of our children not being able to read proficiently and do math, so where is the lobbying to support them? You know, and as Devin said, you know, where's the restitution for us? Where's the restitution for our families?
You're not gonna get any.
Yeah, we're not, right?
As I told the men yesterday, and it was almost as if I was banging my head against the wall, trying to articulate, not because they don't have, I spoke to men that were not educated, been in jail forever, gang members, highly intelligent, highly, like, here's my solutions, like, I'm solution based, I'm gonna tell you how, and I'm like, well, that makes very good sense. So I'm not saying that I'm having an intellectual conversation with someone that's inferior to me. I'm having a conversation with people that are so in the war that they can't see outside of the war, which happens. You get focused, right? You got monovision. It just gets tighter and tighter and tighter, and you can't see out. And I'm trying to talk to these men, and they're saying, we're gonna go to war and we're gonna fight. And I keep saying to them, I applaud that. I think you must fight for your community. I'm telling you, from a data perspective, from a man that's from the outside, a man that has been inside and knows exactly who's coming into your community, even more so than you do, because I see it at a bigger plan, a bigger understanding of who they are and why they're coming. You can fight as much as you want, but you are outnumbered. And there's reinforcements coming into your war that outnumber you by 4, 5, 10 times. Doesn't matter how strong you are. Doesn't matter what the past has been that you have laid down this battleground, and these are my communities and we're gonna take them. I said, the reality is, if I was a betting man, as much as I believe in you and your strength, I'm going to place a bet against you. And it's hard to hear that because I'm looking at, I'm not discounting the strength of these men. I'm looking at it from a very practical example. 700,000 black men and women in Chicago. Your mayor wants to bring in 700,000. Right now, there's probably 200,000 of them, maybe 3. It's very loose because they don't want anybody to know, right? All of your resources are going to a smaller percentage of your people, meaning 20% of your total population. Billions that should be going to you are now going to them. What will happen when that 200 turns into 1 million and they outnumber you by 300,000? Do you think you being the black community in Chicago are going to get more resources? Or do you think more resources and loans are going to be taken out due to that? So when I say to you, and we have talked about the replacement, and I've had this discussion where I've said, this is going to sting when I say this. This is not you are being replaced. You have been replaced. The machine, look, I just came from San Diego, from where I spent 24 years fighting the war on immigration, illegal immigration. I know exactly what's happening. I know who's doing it and how. Just as you shocked me with 48%. I came away from San Diego. I remember sitting in San Diego International Airport as I had to pass all the homeless illegal aliens sleeping in my airport. I was sad, and then the other description of what I felt was shock and surprise, because even I did not know, who I think I'm an expert on this, even I did not know or understand how big this military operation is. I did not understand how big the partnership between the United States government and non-governmental organizations were. I could not wrap my brain around the enormity of it. And I'm stating this fact to come full circle back to Chicago and say something that you have said and Kay has said. This has been going on for decades. The homeless voting and that is planned. So when we go into this war, and I believe it is a war, we all have to have the understanding that the other side, the enemy, which is our own government, has laid the foundation for a long, long time. We are late to the game because we are trying to live our lives and believing in the American dream and the American way of life. And now we're finding out that we've been lied to. And now we're playing catch up, but now we're playing catch up against the Super Bowl champion Kansas City Chiefs. And we're trying to put together an 8th grade football team. I do never bet against America. America is a great nation that can do great things. We have our sins, like, because we're human, but we are a great nation. But we're losing her. You, and this has been my thesis in all my writings and the book I wrote, middle America, minority America in metro cities are going to be devastated. They are going to be destroyed, and then it's going to permeate into suburban America and rural America, and it's going to destroy us as well. That's why I'm here, because the fight, unfortunately, and I'm sad to say, Boston, New York, Chicago, and Los Angeles. We are the battlegrounds of this enormous war that has now found its way in America.
Absolutely.
Thank you for your time. Thank you for
so
shocking me
Yeah.
and teaching me.
You're very
I love to learn, but I don't like to be shocked when I learn. That is a shocking situation.